Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to celebrate Arnold Schwarzenegger's 76th birthday, which I know was a few days ago, but I nonetheless wanted to get to this, and that's going to be a ranking of my favorite movies of his. Arnold Schwarzenegger's been like an idol, hero of mine since I was a little kid. I remember writing a book report about him and reading one of his autobiographies. I own his biography. I own, a 24 by 36 poster of the guy. And to this day, he's still my favorite classic action hero. He's one of my favorite actors of all time in general, one of my favorite people. So yeah, this definitely had to happen. And with that, let's get to it. And these are going to be some of my honorable mentions. I could pretty much have every other Arnold Schwarzenegger movie I don't have in my top 10 in my honorable mentions, really, because I enjoy pretty much everything he's ever done. Couple I don't have here are ones like Raw Deal and Red Heat, both of which I like very much as well. But I guess I just had to condense it to 6 or 7 honorable mentions instead of like 7 or 8. But yeah, I like the Conan movies. I like both of those, decently well. I know a lot of people prefer the first one, but I actually prefer the second. I just find it more entertaining in a general sense. Then you have one like The Sixth Day, which is a pretty unique, little sci-fi action flick. I sort of like the aspects of it that drive the plot. I thought were actually pretty engaging. Some dated CG in parts. Then you have Collateral Damage, which I really like the setup for, and Arnold's usage of the axe in that one. Eraser, of course. James Caan is a villain I watched quite a bit when I was a kid. Aftermath and Maggie. For those who say Arnold doesn't actually act or can actually act, please watch both of these, especially Aftermath. I think shows he's actually grown a bit of depth as an actor. Both those are very good for what they're going for. Then you have a movie like Sabotage, which was kind of capitalizing on a lot of the Sicario success at the time, but I think this one was good as well. So yeah, and to get into my actual top 10, we're going to be starting off with The Last Stand. To sort of keep things more of a mystery, I may have revealed already, I'll hold the phone like this. But yeah, The Last Stand, I think deserves a bit more credit. It was like alongside like his appearances in The Expendables and like Escape Plan. This is one of his first movies back after being Governator. And I think it's fairly underrated. I just did another review on it recently. Jamie Alexander is in this as well, Peter Stormare. The main villain isn't all that great, but I like the classic throwback premise of it. And Arnold delivers. Next up is End of Days. Sort of another overlooked one. I know there's like a lot of like Devil, End of the World, movies around like the, turn of, 98, 99, and 2000, of course. But Gabriel Byrne plays the devil in this, who went on to be really great in things like Vikings, and he was even in Vanity Fair and everything. This has like a very grim, self-serious tone to it, which might throw some people off, but I always liked it. Number 8 is going to be The Running Man, my favorite Stephen King movie, at least in a certain sense. Sub-Zero, now Plane Zero. I promise I won't do any more Schwarzenegger impressions. But I always had good fun with this one. I like the tournament, sort of chase setup. But yeah. And this may shock some people, but what I have at number 7, I believe is what we're on, is, T2, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. It's as good as everyone says it is. I have no, real negatives with it. Just for me, as an Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, I sort of enjoy when he gets to show, his personality and his, just, his character. But with this, he's playing a literal, cyborg, robot, machine. So it sort of limits him in a way, even though he's great at it. He's, perfect for that. Just seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger restrained doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be my favorite thing. But it is a really good movie, maybe a little overlong. Yeah, I say that preferring the extended cut. I like the additions to it. But yeah, so still really enjoy this one. I'm not taking anything away from it. But at number 7 is, yes, Terminator 2 for me personally. And then number 6 is The Last Action Hero. Arnold Schwarzenegger even said it pretty recently that this is like his most like overlooked or underrated movie. I think it's definitely ahead of its time, playing on some meta, fourth wall kind of things like a lot of movies do nowadays. Charles Dance, Tywin Lannister is in this as a main villain. But yeah, it's really enjoyable, and it's kind of like a kid's dream of being pulled into an action movie, and then your favorite hero coming into the real world. I think it handles it really well. And then next up, you have True Lies at number 5. You have to have an actual real, U.S. Blu-ray release of this one, or Blu-ray at all, as far as I know, which is odd because it is one of his more famous movies. But of course, the classic setup of him being married to Jamie Lee Curtis, and Jamie Lee Curtis not knowing that he's actually a spy. She gets pulled into it. Fun performance from Bill Paxton as well. Always really enjoyed this one. Again, maybe one that's a little overlong, but I do think it's worth it. So yeah, number 5 is True Lies. Number 4 is Commando. I can definitely see why some people might prefer True Lies, but as of now, and this could very well change, I do prefer Commando. It is lean, it is mean, it is straightforward. It has a chase through the mall with Arnold throwing like 10 guys off of him. The final assault on the compound where he sort of goes into his version of Rambo mode. Carrying a log at the beginning of the movie. As the I lied line, I've always really enjoyed this. So there is like a unrated cut that's sort of weird to get a hold of, which has a bit less cutting away in the finale, but either way, I think you're in good hands. So yeah, number 4 is Commando. And tied for 3, I actually have 3 movies. That is probably cheating, but it is what it is. These are all, aside from Junior, his comedies, which I always thought Arnold was great with comedy. And I can never really pick which of these I prefer over the other. I think Jingle All the Way, just because of like the retail humor with him chasing the toy at the beginning. Twins, great chemistry. Kelly Preston's great in it too. Kindergarten Cop, I love the premise of. And even gets a bit violent towards the end. But yeah, all these are tied for 3. I just really can't choose. It changes on any given day. And then my top 2. Number 2 is Predator. Not much I can say about this that hasn't already been said. But yeah, Arnold is perfect for it. And despite what some say, he doesn't win because of his, muscles or how big he is. He has to turn to, survivalist tactics and, his instincts, and then just pure damn luck. But yeah, great cast, Carl Weathers and everything. Great practical effects, Kevin Peter Hall. And then my absolute favorite Arnold movie is still Total Recall. Love what the premise of it makes you think about. Sharon Stone is great in this, Michael Ironside. Some really great practical effects by Paul Verhoeven. Blood squibs and everything, and just like the practical sets. And it was like one of the last like Hollywood films to use like miniatures and stuff like that, or like actually building sets to show their world. But yeah, Dean Norris even in a small role. Most of you guys know him from Breaking Bad. But yeah, I absolutely love Total Recall, and that was my favorite Schwarzenegger movie of all time. Happy birthday, Arnie.